what the definition of insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy. The first time somebody told me that, I don't know, I thought they were bullshitting. So boom, I showed him. The thing is, he was right. And then I started seeing it everywhere I looked. All these fucking pricks. Everywhere I looked, doing the exact same fucking thing. Over and over and over and over and over again. Thinking, this time, it's gonna be different. No, please. This time, it's gonna be different.
All jokes aside, this video is meant to clear up most of the confusion surrounding my AU and the artwork in this series. I've sped up the speed paint to save time, but I will be uploading a separate video later showing the full version. If you're here for my response to the confusion of my AU, skip here. If you're more concerned with the art, keep watching. One of the most common points raised is the inconsistent art style, sprites shifting between 2D, 3D, painterly, and more realistic looks, sometimes being mistaken for Studio Ghibli or AI. This inconsistency is intentional and stylistic, not the result of AI use. The project is built around a fever dream aesthetic, which by definition, relies on constant visual shifts, instability, and a sense that reality is changing. Characters intentionally change appearance throughout the story, most notably Sans and Papyrus, who move between 2D and 3D forms to create a trippy, disorienting effect. I could have kept them as static sprites, but I chose variation, because it better serves the tone and concept. Some images are also designed to mirror or reference poses and expressions from other media, such as Zelda, Majora's Mask, which explains similarities in composition without implying copying or automation. The Frisk image in particular uses an intense stack of filters, and was deliberately styled to resemble Screaming Link, not Studio Ghibli, although I have previously stated that Frisk as a character is loosely inspired by Ghibli style designs, which refers to influence, not generation. It's also important to note that the visual shifts aren't limited to art style alone. Many of the 3D scenes are not from Roblox or Garry's Mod, but from other games with level editors. For example, Escape Room Simulator uses a crusher similar to Roblox, and I also work with the Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 5 level editors. This naturally causes transitions between more cartoonish and more realistic environments. These deliberate changes across tools, styles, and levels of realism are part of the project's identity. The inconsistency is not a byproduct of AI, but a conscious creative decision aligned with the project's core theme, a literal and artistic fever dream. Another important factor behind the shifting art styles is that I work with multiple artists. Each artist naturally has their own approach, strengths, and visual language, which results in stylistic variation across different pieces. While some people associate inconsistent styles with AI, that inconsistency is not exclusive to AI use, and has long existed in collaborative projects, especially in games, animation, and experimental media. I don't limit the project to a single visual style on purpose. Instead, I intentionally incorporate multiple styles depending on the artist and the scene to reinforce the fever dream aesthetic, where visuals feel unstable and constantly changing. As shown on screen, and in earlier examples, the differences between art styles are clear and distinct from one another, reflecting individual artists' work, rather than automated generation. The variation is a creative choice aligned with the project's tone, not an indicator of AI involvement. Another major point that gets misinterpreted is the visual inconsistency within the artwork itself. Things like blurry edges, mixed levels of detail, uneven pixel clarity, and areas that look sharper or softer than others. These traits are often labeled as AI looking, but none of them are exclusive to AI generation. In fact, they are common side effects of a heavy manual editing pipeline. This project's images go through multiple destructive processes, including compression, resampling, background removal, selection tools, anti-aliasing, low-resolution scaling, and screenshotting. All of these alter pixel data in predictable ways. In particular, Paint 3D's workflow requires repeated background removal and repositioning of element. Once an image is cut out, moving or stretching it introduces interpolation, which creates blur, gray or semi-transparent edge pixels, and uneven sharpness. When this process is repeated many times across layers, those artifacts compound. On top of that, many images are constantly resized, stretched, filtered, and re-edited, sometimes at different resolutions. Filters and overlays intentionally modify texture and contrast, while exporting from different editors and at different resolutions further affects clarity. In some cases, an image enhancement tool is used to improve readability or sharpness. These tools add interpolated pixels and contrast enhancement, which can make parts of the image appear unusually clean or detailed next to more degraded areas. That contrast can be mistaken for AI texture, but it is simply the result of mixed resolution editing. None of this indicates AI generation. These are well-known artifacts of raster image editing, especially when working with cutouts, filters, screenshots, and multiple export passes. While some AI generators can produce similar looking smoothness or texture, similarity in surface appearance does not prove shared origin. The difference is that AI generated textures are systemic and pattern based, whereas the inconsistencies here directly align with known editing actions and tool limitations, some of which are shown in the speed paint, the background removal and stretching. FeverTale and by extension some of my other series intentionally uses surreal and mixed media visuals. These visuals overlap with what people now associate with modern AI aesthetics, but they are created through manual editing, collaboration between multiple people, and tool-driven workflows, not through AI generation. I've tried to explain this before, but I didn't communicate it clearly, and I apologize for that. I also want to clarify what I meant by the use of free-to-use sprites and assets. I do not use assets that require mandatory credit. In cases where I have credited artists, those were separate situations involving collaborators who worked on animations or specific sprites. Some contributors have chosen to remain anonymous or requested no credit, which I fully respect. If anything was ever used without proper permission, it has either been removed entirely or credited appropriately once brought to my attention. Another reason certain parts of the images look unusual or inconsistent is due to the removal and recombination of image elements. Many visuals are created using free-to-use sprites or other permitted sources that are cut apart and reassembled. This process is commonly known as franken-spriting, the practice of combining pieces from multiple images to create something new, often with an uncanny or surreal effect. This is a long-established technique in sprite art and digital collage, and it is used deliberately here to enhance the unsettling, dreamlike tone of the project. These visual traits are the result of manual composition and editing, not AI involvement. When I mention enhancement, I'm referring to post-processing like sharpening or upscaling to clean up blur caused by editing, and resizing, not AI generation. These tools can sometimes make images look AI-like or confuse detectors, but they don't create or replace the artwork point as shown in the speed paint. Parts of the image such as the arms and claws were copied, stretched, flipped, and then manually edited over. This process can introduce blur and gray or semi-transparent pixels, especially around edges, due to resampling and interpolation. Those artifacts are usually cleaned up manually, or in some cases someone else may apply an image enhancement pass to improve clarity. I want to be clear about what I mean by enhancement, because some comments misunderstood this. The artwork remains original, hand-drawn, and human-made. Enhancement in this context refers to post-processing tools that adjust resolution, sharpness, contrast, or noise similar to upscaling, deblurring, or clarity filters. These tools do not create new compositions, poses, or designs. They only modify existing pixel data to improve readability after heavy editing, resizing, or compression. Some enhancement tools, especially modern upscalers or sharpeners, can make images appear AI-like because they smooth gradients, intensify edges, or add interpolated pixels. This can sometimes cause AI detectors to misclassify the image, not because the art was generated by AI, but because detectors rely on surface-level texture patterns, not authorship or process point. There is no enhancer that retroactively turns human-made art into AI-generated art. At most, certain enhancement methods can make an image resemble the visual artifacts commonly associated with AI outputs. I want to clarify that I do not personally enhance the art I work on. Some of the artwork used in FeverTale may have been enhanced by other artists I collaborated with, but to my knowledge, I did not apply any enhancements myself. I also stated that I was not aware the art was being enhanced until later on, which is why I updated the description in my old speed paint video, and discussed it later on. There are multiple artists I work with, some are friends, some are collaborators, and not all of the art is enhanced. Because many viewers assume AI, whenever an image looks different or unusual, it's often unclear exactly what they are referring to sometimes. The art in FeverTale is collectively created and edited, and the process varies depending on the artist and the piece. While I handle a large portion of the work, other contributors bring their own styles and methods. I aim for a unique and specific look, often changing character designs, experimenting with visuals, and intentionally mixing styles. I rarely stick to one approach. Much of what appears in the videos is freestyle, incorporating whatever fits the randomness, unpredictability, and chaotic energy of a fever dream aesthetic. This diversity and unpredictability is intentional and central to the project's style, not the result of AI. I want to give some context about who I am and how this started. I'm not a professional artist. I only recently began seriously learning pixel art to achieve this look. I'm also not from the Undertale or Deltarune community. I'm an outsider. I knew about the games, the lore, and the theories, but I never interacted with the fandom. This AU wasn't created to be popular. My goal was simple, to reach a consistent audience, even just 1,000 views per video, and to do something different from my previous work. There was thought behind it. There was a concept and a story. It wasn't made randomly. I also don't communicate much. I mostly just make things and post them. I wasn't trying to build a high effort or high budget AU, and honestly, a lot of it was just me experimenting and messing around. I didn't expect a fan base, or even people to care. I don't take this too seriously. At the end of the day, it's a pixel art game. I'm not here to argue, or fight anyone over it. What I value most is socializing, sharing what I make, and having a community to interact with. That's why I post so much. I care far more about the people who actually watch and engage than about strangers online dissecting everything I do. If I were intentionally using AI, I wouldn't be filling my work with heavily over-edited images and rough sprites that look artificial. A lot of what people point to as AI is actually me pushing things too far on purpose. I wasn't trying to be clean or polished. The random element, the distortion, the over-editing, that was all intentional. The goal was a fever dream atmosphere, not realism or perfection. If I were taking this seriously, or aiming for something conventional, none of that would be there. The chaos is part of the point. From this point forward, it's mainly the speed paint. There is one more response later at this timestamp, if you want to jump ahead, otherwise feel free to watch through to the end. Before I move on to the story of the AU, there's one last thing I want to address. If you're here now, you either watch the whole speed paint or skipped ahead. Either way, I expect someone to eventually claim that the speed paint was traced or staged. So I want to explain this clearly. Tracing requires a visible reference. You need the source image on screen in some form, either on a layer above or below your canvas, on a second monitor, or physically visible next to you. Tracing works by following existing lines, shapes, and proportions directly. Because of that, traced artwork lines up almost perfectly with the original. The proportions stay consistent, and there's very little trial and error movement. That is not what happens in this speed paint. Throughout the process, you can see repeated corrections and redraws, entire parts of the body and face being repositioned, resized, and adjusted multiple times. Frisk's face in particular was moved and reworked over and over. That kind of constant structural change doesn't happen when something is traced, because tracing already locks the structure in place. There is also no hidden image, layer, or window being traced from. Tracing something you can't see would make no sense. You can't follow lines, proportions, or angles that aren't visible. Trying to trace from a hidden or closed window would be not only impractical, but essentially impossible to do accurately or consistently. The gray pixels and small inconsistencies people point out come from tools like Magic Select, which I mentioned earlier. That tool can leave artifacts when moving or adjusting parts of an image. Some of those artifacts were cleaned up, and some weren't, but that has nothing to do with tracing. From even a basic understanding of how tracing works, this simply isn't it. If this were traced, everything would line up cleanly and remain consistent from start to finish. With that mostly covered, I want to talk about FeverTale and its story. I'm not here to defend the AU, especially when one of the videos is literally just a PNG on screen thanks CapCut. What I do want to do is point out the missing context, because a lot of what people see now is the result of things going wrong during development. FeverTale does have a story. Yes, it's intentionally dreamlike and disorienting. The biggest issue is that this series is missing a large portion of its narrative foundation. FeverTale is a sequel to Under Purgatory. It was never my first AU. There were earlier videos now deleted that introduced Frisk's backstory, who is formerly known as Lucy in this AU. Those videos explained how Lucy arrived in Purgatory and why they're there in the first place. The white-haired boy wasn't a random character either. He appeared across multiple videos and was meant to act as a guiding angel, someone who explains what's happening and hints at another way out of Purgatory. Those videos are gone now, which removes a major source of clarity for the story. Other story beats were also set up but never fully preserved. Papyrus's appearance was meant to change again at the end of chapter 1. One of the main antagonists appears at the end of chapter 1 and explains their motives. There was a separate video introducing Clover and Kreese, along with Kreese's appearance. All of that context is missing now. Because so many of those videos are gone, FeverTale is left looking disconnected. Incomplete, and far more random than it was intended to be. What remains is fragments of a story without its setup, transitions, or explanations. I'd compare it to something like BioShock Infinite. Early material suggests one thing, but by the time everything is released, or in this case, what's left, what people see, is very different from what was originally planned. FeverTale isn't a mess because there was no direction. It's a mess because the connective tissue is gone. This brings me to the future of the channel. The art style and editing have already shifted far away from FeverTale. Going forward, I'll be working with artists on speed paints and focusing more on animation. I don't plan to keep using the old style. A remaster is in the works. Either Under Purgatory or FeverTale will be remade first, with improved story, pacing, and presentation. But more than anything, my main priority is you, the people who actually watch and care. Not the haters. I want to grow and engage with my community more and make these projects feel interactive. That may even include community voice acting for those who want to be involved. I'm going to keep doing what I enjoy and focus on the people who are here for it.